making the technology work, so I'll just make sure I'm all plugged in and ready to go before I begin. So that's what my life looks like for the last 12 months, getting to found a new School of Communication and Media with programs in journalism, film media, public relations, communication studies, writing and rhetoric, and a graduate program in library and information sciences. But there's another reason why my life is a blur, and it has to do with a question that's just driving me crazy all the time. What do we need to know and be able to do when it comes to supporting and extending the use of print, visual, sound, and digital texts, tools, and technologies among children and youth? For the last 2 days, we've been discovering this really interesting problem we all have as researchers and as teachers. Well, the 15-year-old growing up in 2013 is not the same as the 15-year-old growing up in 2010. It's not the same as the 15-year-old growing up in 2007, and that's completely different than the 15-year-old growing up just 10 years ago. So everything is changing so rapidly in our media and technology environment. It creates a really interesting set of challenges and opportunities for us as researchers and teachers. For the last couple of days, we've been exploring the relationship between protection and empowerment, and recognizing that these are not separate discourses, these are two sides of the same coin. But in a way, what we've explored over the last 2 days is connecting our digital and mediated lives with some of the natural developmental characteristics of adolescence, like the fact that adolescents like to take risks in pursuit of experience. They like experience for its own sake. They crave experience, and they go after novelty, complexity, and intense situations. Part of the developmental job of adolescence is to separate from your family and to develop a unique identity and to be able to learn from the world around you. Learn by making mistakes. So for the last few days, as we've talked about children and young people's encounters with social media and with digital media, we recognize that adolescents search for the sensational. They enjoy escaping to alternative worlds. Well, most of you in the room have been researching how adolescents play with identity. And we haven't had much discourse on this, but it's a really important topic, how adolescents seek to express their idealism by speaking out as civic actors, and how digital and social media makes and enables and extends the power of their voices. Of course, many of us are fascinated by the fact that developmentally, the process of developing emotional reasoning and coming to be able to reflect on and understand one's own emotional life is a huge developmental task that can be either aided or subordinated by digital and social media. And of course, one thing that many of you have been exploring the last 2 days is how adolescents understand and use social power. The paradox of adolescence, that we need as adolescents to fit in and stand out. Simultaneously, that developmentally complex task is made more complicated and more interesting by the opportunities and the affordances of digital and social media. Of course, many of us recognize that adolescents enjoy and crave and need to talk to anyone about anything, and that actually is another dimension, articulation of social power, as is keeping secrets from parents and adults. Part of the way you develop as an independent thinker, as an autonomous human being, is discovering and making choices about who you say what to. So you practice. You practice during adolescence. And of course, you practice by transgressing social norms. Because the only way to develop a conscience, the only way to develop a sense of self and understanding of how one fits in society is to step over the boundary and see what happens when you transgress, what the consequences are of transgression. And some of us would argue that digital and social media provide a safe space for transgression. Others recognize that that space may not be so safe at all. But transgressing social norms is a developmentally natural part of adolescence and is an increasingly relevant activity of adolescence. All that by saying, there are 8 characteristics, developmentally normal characteristics of adolescence that we've been exploring for the last 2 days, and of course has been a big focus of my work in media literacy education, as it has mostly been working in middle schools and high schools with children ages 11 to 17. But I want us to recognize that human development and socialization are lifelong processes. Here we are at various stages of the old, right? Young old, and old, right? But our encounters with digital and social media are part of our human development. Human development grows across the lifespan. And we ourselves are developing in relationship to the digital and social media tools and technologies that are part of our daily lives. So to our younger teens, because human development is situational and contextual, right? Nobody can reproduce the 15-year-old that I was in 1975, 1 year before the bicentennial of the United States, when everything was red, white, and blue. And we were so patriotic, and we worshipped journalists who showed us that citizens could have a check on power of the government through a strong, free press. That, my identity as a 15-year-old, situational and contextual, and my understanding of media and technology completely driven by what was happening in the world, what was happening with the media world in the time and place of my adolescence. So, socialization occurs through this combination of social interaction and media exposure, which is why, if you are interested in Youth 2.0, you must be interested in children before puberty, because they are growing up with digital and social media as babies, as you have all seen the babies with their mother's cell phone and their iPads and all the rest. So all for the last 2 days, I've been noticing some missing perspectives. How little we're talking about children before puberty, and how we talk about their teachers. Elementary school teachers spend all day with children. They arrive in the morning, and they spend the whole day with a class of pupils. Sometimes in upper elementary, maybe they will have children for half a day, and then another teacher will have the children for half a day, but elementary school teachers spend all day with children. And yet I'd like you to reflect on the discourses that we researchers have used in talking about teachers over the last 2 days. I've heard teachers described as the problem. Haven't you? I've heard teachers described as a bundle of deficits. They don't know this, they don't know that, they don't have time, they can't do, they have bad attitudes. Boy, do you researchers have a lot of negative attitudes about teachers. It seems here in some parts of Europe that you've completely given up on any possibility that teachers could be agents and partners in our efforts to help students develop critical thinking and communication skills about digital and social media. So today I'd like to argue why we need these missing perspectives in our discourse, even if our focus is on adolescence and social media. We need these missing perspectives. As Alexander Pope told us 350 years ago, "'Tis education forms the common mind, just as the twig is bent, so is the tree inclined." It turns out every society around the world has an aphorism of one sort or the other that says, you really better pay attention to what happens in childhood. It's important. So, I want to talk with you a little bit about the last 5 years of work that I've been doing in a project called Powerful Voices for Kids. It's a university school partnership program designed to strengthen children's ability to think for themselves, communicate effectively, and use their powerful voices to contribute to the quality of life in their families, their schools, their communities, and the world. Fundamentally, the Powerful Voices for Kids project is trying to increase school relevance by connecting classroom to contemporary culture. The program consists of 6 elements. There's a summer program for children, where graduate students and undergraduate students from the university offer a summer program for children. There's a staff development program for educators, where educators get the equivalent of a graduate course in digital and media literacy. There's something we call in-school mentoring, which is an elbow-to-elbow approach where we place a graduate student or an undergraduate student with a teacher that works directly in the classroom on a specific project for a duration of 6 or 8 or 10 weeks. We have been doing some multimedia curriculum development and developing resources and activities for use with children in the primary and elementary school level, and a very comprehensive program of video documentation and research, and some parent and community outreach. So for the last 5 years, that's what my life's been all about, sort of managing a 3-ring circus of all those initiatives in 3 schools, 1 urban charter school and 2 suburban public schools. The urban charter school, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on the east coast of the United States, is a school where 70% of the families receive free or reduced lunch. The family median income is $35,000. The teachers are 90% white, but the population is 85% African American. Only 60% of grade 3 students met state standards for reading, and in Philadelphia, that's considered a strong public school. Because unfortunately in Philadelphia, most grade 3 students are not reading at grade level, and in this school, this is a high-functioning urban public school, 60% of children are reading at grade level. So this is a high-functioning urban school. The research that I'm going to share with you is based on a sample of 9 to 11-year-olds, about 115 of them. We also worked in 2 suburban schools. 2 suburban schools. In these schools, only 10% of families received free or reduced lunch. The family median income was $120,000, reflecting the fact that parents had advanced degrees, worked in the pharmaceutical or banking industries. The teachers were 95% white. The students were 78% white, 15% Asian. 88% of those grade 3 students met state standards for reading. And of course, because it was 2 schools, it was a little bit larger sample. So we spent 3 to 5 years in these 3 schools. And we learned a lot, and we made a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we did, what we learned, what questions we got raised by the experience. I guess you could describe the Powerful Voices project as kind of an example of what the lab does. We go into sites and we spend a lot of time there, and we use the site as a lab, a place of inquiry, right? So not just to test our ideas, but to discover new questions to explore. So one thing we learned right away was that young children can categorize visual media by purpose and target audience using a simple card sort task. Even very young children in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, these are children who are 6, 7, and 8 years old, can be invited to demonstrate their understanding of the idea that different television shows are for different target audiences, right? There are shows that mom and dad like. There are shows that grandma likes. There are shows that brother and sister like. They can also categorize visual media by purpose, making a discrimination between media forms that are informative, entertaining, and persuasive. We learned that even very young children can engage in a kind of active reasoning, which we argued in the Journal of Children and Media last year is a precursor to media literacy. We asked children to describe their favorite TV shows, video games, and music. And then we just basically categorized their answers. You can see they draw a picture of the show. This is CSI Miami. Do you see that in Europe or no? Yeah, of course. All right. So it's this child writes, "I like it because I get to see how the people find a lot of the details." Okay. So even a very young child who can answer something like that is demonstrating something we call active reasoning, which we defined as being able to identify the genre or describe a compositional element or link the program to an emotional response or identify a social function of the media use or describe the message. Only about 1/3 of children 9 to 11 do this. The other 2/3, when it says, "I like it because," right, "I like it because it's funny. I like it because it's fun. I like it because I watch it a lot." Okay, so only about 1/3 of children can give a reason for their liking. Now, we wouldn't call that critical thinking, but we would say that that's a child who can be metacognitive about their pleasure and to be able to define that and give words to that. In fact, we found that it is strongly associated with the high-achieving children, the gifted and talented, as it were, who are able to do this in spades, right, with lots of things, including TV shows, video games, and music. We also learned that children ages 9 to 11 engage in a wide variety of online activities. These are, the red lines represent the children in the urban school, and the blue lines represent the children in the suburban school. And as you can see, there are differences between urban American children and suburban children, but they're just, we couldn't in fact say that one group is particularly deprived. They're all downloading music from the internet at ages 9, 10, and 11, okay? They're all getting information from the internet. They're all using a digital camera to take a photo. Many, especially the kids in the urban schools, are using a computer program to create or design pictures. Now you can see that more of the urban kids are creating a profile for themselves on Facebook, right? Only a few, the blue line there is pretty short, among the 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. But the urban kids are doing that quite a lot. So clearly children are actively involved in social media activities right about at the age of 9 and 10 is when it starts to take off. That's also when the culture of secrecy begins. We asked this question in a variety of forms. We asked, have you ever seen something on YouTube that your parents wouldn't want you to see? And we asked, did you see something on a website that your parents wouldn't want you to see? Did you see something on TV that your parents wouldn't want you to see? Did you hear something on the radio your parents wouldn't want you to hear? We asked it in a variety of forms. We always got the same pie chart. Among 9 to 11-year-olds, about half say no, and the other half say yes, but it was an accident. 9 to 11-year-olds get accidentally exposed to media that they perceive as transgressive, that they perceive is not age appropriate, that raises uncomfortable feelings for them. And as we learned from earlier research in yesterday's session, the younger children experience more intense emotional response to media they find disturbing. So we're really intrigued by this accidental transgression and want to know more. It raises lots of questions for us about how that happens. We did ask a question, were you alone or with others? And about half of children report that they were with others. So likely it was older siblings or other children who they were having a social experience around a computer, and that's what created the situation. But in the other half of situations, the child was alone. So we're intrigued by that. For that reason, we think children benefit from literacy activities that promote critical thinking, creativity, and intercultural social interaction. So now what I want to do is show you some examples of interventions, projects, initiatives that we engaged in with the teachers in these 3 schools.
Partnership between America and Islam must be based on what Islam is, not what it isn't. And I consider it part of my responsibility as President of the United States to fight against negative stereotypes of Islam wherever they appear.
Can you say that? Media literate consumers?
Media literate consumers.
Yeah. So media is any way that we communicate with others. We use different things. We use media to communicate messages.
9 months before the president's speech, and during the 2008-2009 academic year, researchers from Temple University's Media Education Lab partnered with students and teachers from both Roberts Elementary School in Wayne, Pennsylvania, and Kuwait University in Kuwait. Having been aware of media representations of the Middle East, together we were interested in answering one fundamental question. What educational tactics could we use to address cultural misunderstandings, particularly of the Middle East? As with any good curriculum, we began by accessing students' prior knowledge.
Let me explain what you guys got to do. Okay, everyone paying attention? Yeah. So you look at each image, right? And as a group, you talk about, is this happening in the Middle East? Does this picture look like it's taking place in the Middle East? Or does it not look like it's taking place in the Middle East?
I don't think that's the Middle East or not. I don't think it snows anywhere in the Middle East. Africa is hot. I've never been.
Everyone can look at the smartboard. We're going to go over these images, and we would just like you to quickly tell us if you thought it was in the Middle East, why or why not. So who had to say?
No, it is not the Middle East because they are ninjas.
This could not be Middle East because there is not ocean there.
No, not the Middle East. There are no trees there.
I think it is hot in the Middle East, and so it would not snow. It looks like a mall, and I don't think the Middle East has malls.
Now knowing 3rd and 4th grade students' prior knowledge about the Middle East, the Roberts teachers and media specialist Maggie Caverly took charge of introducing new knowledge to the students. For example, Mrs. Nancy Chili, a 3rd grade teacher at Roberts, read to her students from the book The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis and assigned comprehension and analysis activities accordingly.
I can read that letter as well as Father can, Parvona whispered into the folds of her chador. Well, almost. She didn't dare say those words aloud.
The collages, they had to capture a piece of the story since the book we read had no photographs. They like story time in general, but I do think they connected with the character and the way it was written. They just constantly wanted to find out what happened next.
Yeah, and you know, that's the challenge at 3rd grade level. You have to, even though you're taking such a broad topic, you have to bring it to the level where they not only understand it, but they grasp it, they absorb it. Because you can talk to your below in the face about Asia, or you can talk about Europe, parts of Europe or part of Africa, but unless you actually bring them, feel like you're bringing them there and talking about student life, about what kids like, what foods they eat, they're not going to really buy into it, to be honest.
The Roberts Temple team agreed with Mr. Crane's assertions and wanted to help students build personal connections to the countries, people, and ideas discussed in relation to the Middle East. The team thus planned a variety of activities that engaged students' enthusiastic interests and most vivid imaginations.
How many of you have seen the movie Aladdin? But we're going to look at it as media literate consumers. And when we're media literate, that means what do? We listen. What else? We ask questions. What else?
We learn
stuff. So we need each group to choose one person who's going to speak about it, who's going to read your response and your findings. So make sure you tell us what media literacy question that you you chose, and then tell us some of the answers.
Well, so we did how might different people interpret the message differently. And we did some people might think that they are just weird.
Then who is just weird?
The characters are just weird. Okay, I'll read the next part. And they also might think that it's not a But they also might think that it's not a big deal that Aladdin stole a loaf of bread because it's just one little loaf of bread.
How might different people interpret the message differently? They might think they steal in the Middle East. It's not in the Middle East. They might think it's all sand in the Middle East. People might think people only ride camels in the Middle East.
Students practiced the active viewership skills they were learning by viewing and thinking about an independent short film called Santa Claus in Baghdad.
I have seen you worship your own freedom. Even as slaves humble themselves before a tyrant and praise him though he slays them.
Over the course of several months, students and teachers researched the film's context and discussed its story, symbols, and messages.
In the beginning of the story, why was Bilal really, really excited? Does anybody remember? Chloe? Yeah, read a book and found out about Santa Claus. And why else was he excited?
Good question. Okay, last two. Gabby?
If they're even not from Iraq, I wonder how they would know the Arabic literature stuff.
Very spectacular question, Juliana.
Then in May of that year, the students had the very unique opportunity to meet the writer and director of Santa Claus in Baghdad, Mr. Raouf Zaki, and ask him questions about the filmmaking process and about his experiences growing up in the Middle East.
Because I make films that try to make you think about other people who live in parts of the world where you hear about them in the news or in the media, wrong things.
What was your inspiration for the movie?
Basically, my inspiration was to make a movie that will make American kids like you see Iraqi kids, what they have in common with you, and I think it's many things that we have in common.
To continue exploring these commonalities and spark dialogue between the two cultures, third graders at Roberts wrote, storyboarded, and filmed with handheld flip cameras media messages to share with their pen pal friends at Kuwait University.
When we read books, we post comments in our main notebook. Hi, my name is Ava. I like to do crazy experiments in my science textbooks. Bye!
These videos were then posted to the project's Wikispace pages, which facilitated the students' pen pal exchange.
So what we do here, each of the pen pals, they go to their discussion and they post, certain things. Like Farida started. She said, "Do you have a question for me? Do you have a question for me? I'm ready for any questions. You have about Kuwait or my culture. Where is Kuwait located? What is your favorite color?"
The pen pal exchange was one of the most potent means the team had devised for bringing the Middle East to life for the Roberts students. But while this cross-cultural communication did provide a rich educational and motivational tool, by the end of the school year, teachers and researchers could conclude only one thing. That is, their fruitful partnership had created a learning environment that was both innovative and invigorating, but the task of bridging cultural understanding, they found, would be an ongoing process to which they had contributed one successful step and several curious faces.
That gives you a sense of the kind of project. It also gives you a sense of what affluent American elementary school looks like, with the flip cameras and the smart boards and the laptops. So we did enjoy the opportunity to work in a high-tech school, but we also got to work in an urban school, which when we arrived had 4 computers for 400 children. And the computers were used as a game play activity. If you finished all your work, you could go out into the hallway and play a game. There was no school library. There was no computer center. So we had to be really creative in how to introduce digital and media literacy activities to young children. Here's a group of first graders. These are 6-year-olds. Their teacher showed them a YouTube video and said, guess what? We're gonna make a video to send to the author, because authors aren't just people who write books. Authors can be filmmakers, authors can be musicians, authors can be photographers. Anyone can use any medium to be an author. So she picked a YouTube video, she showed it to the children, and then the children asked questions to the author. Here's the questions the children asked.
Hi, Mr. Jenkins. My name is Joy. My name is Shayla. Why did you write the film? Hi, Mr. Jenkins. We are Samson and Solomon. How did you put together the film? Alone or with other people? I don't know.
3.
Hi, Mr. Jenkins. My name is Blair. Hi, Mr. Jenkins. My name is Veronica. Do you like writing stories? Hi, Mr. Jenkins. My name is Alana. My name is John. What type of media is it? Hi, Mr. Jenkins. My name is Faris. Did you make other movies? Mr. Jenkins, my name is Bethany. Who is your target audience for your film? Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Hey, Team Robot Cheetahs. Team Robot Cheetahs, right? All right, stop. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Hey, Team Robot Cheetahs. My name is Barry Jenkins. I'm a filmmaker. Thank you for your awesome questions. I will now answer all your awesome questions with awesome answers. Here we go. Okay, question number 1. Joy and Shayla. I wrote the film because I had some things I wanted to talk about. And because I make movies, I figured I'd talk about those things by making a movie about them. Question number 2, Samson and Selman. I did not put the movie together by myself. I actually put the movie together with all my friends, in particular with friends I went to school with. So it's almost like if you decided you were going to make a film, Samson, you would ask Joy and Shayla to help you with it. That's basically what I did. I asked all my friends from film school to help me make my movie. Question number 3, Blair and Veronica. I love writing stories. It's actually what I did before I made movies. I used to write stories all the time. And it's kind of cool because making movies to me is like writing stories but with pictures instead of with words. So I'm still writing stories and I still love it. Question number 4, Alana and John. Filmmaking, the kind of filmmaking that I do would be considered independent media. I think media is a very big word. It's like television, movies, music videos. But I think for me, I do independent filmmaking, which means I'm not making films because somebody's paying me to. I'm making films because I want to say stuff. Faris, question number 5, Faris. I have made other movies. Medicine for Melancholy is my first big movie, like my first feature film, but I've made a lot of short movies, which I'll show you a few clips of now. Let's see here. Question number 6. Seth and Bethany, the target audience for my movies, I want everybody to see my movies, but I think in particular, I'm making movies for people who I think we don't see in movies too often. So basically people like me, who I feel like don't see themselves in movies enough. So it's almost like if you had something that you were upset about, and then you got upset because you didn't see it on the news or you didn't see it on TV, and then you decided you were going to make it so it would be on TV, so other people who felt the way you felt could see it. That's sort of, that's the audience for movies is. You know, I make movies for people who I feel are underrepresented. And I think teacher Kate Spiller can explain to you a little bit more what that means. I think that's all the questions. Thank you guys for such amazing, amazing questions. I hope you all have a real good summer. Hope you keep your nose in the books, don't watch too much cartoons, read a lot of stories, write a few if you want to, and be very nice to your teacher, Kate Spiller. Alright, love you guys, have a good summer. Click. Much, bro.
Because it's easy for me because I just keep coming up with stories for no reason. Okay.
So you have a very active imagination.
And this is how my villain is bad. My villain is bad because when it was a young little girl, people used to always pick on her, and she got tired of it. As she grown up, her childhood was getting bad, and now that she's a grown up, since people did all those mean stuff to her, she's going to do it to other people, even though she don't even know that. Mm-hmm.
So she.
So, what's the right way for a teacher to respond to a child who is describing the creative process? How I create a villain. When kids create, they fuse elements from their media exposure and their personal life. And a big part of what we discovered in this process was helping teachers respond appropriately to those moments when children reveal their creativity in a complex interplay that weaves together their media experiences and their home experiences. So we wondered, why didn't more elementary educators use digital and media literacy pedagogy? Because children do this. They bring together in their own stories their media life and their home life. And so we discovered that when children create, they crave to create things that comment on, react to, and respond to the athletes, musicians, and celebrities, and the characters from popular culture that matter to them, which is another omission that I want to comment on in this conference. Why haven't we been talking about popular culture, about celebrities? Why haven't we understood how digital and social media are intensely connected to our deep pleasures associated with popular culture? So I could show you lots and lots of examples of how this happens. I guess this one I can't resist wanting to show you. Here are these are fourth grade boys doing a critical analysis of a music video that was their mom's favorite music video. Listen to how they interpret. They go home, they have to ask what was their mom's favorite music video. Mom tells them. They go look it up on YouTube, and then they write a critical analysis of their mom's favorite music video. And then they make a screencast. Do you know what a screencast is? Simple media production tool.
Everybody knows there's exceptions to this rule. I don't be kicking bad when we please.
My name is Amir, and we listen to the song Unity by Queen Latifah. I got from the song that women should stand up for themselves and don't let men abuse them.
Hi, I'm Dion. I did not like how men were hurting women, and if you put your hands on a woman, you are a punk.
Hi, my name is Jared. I like how Queen Latifah was boosting up girls' self-esteem. So.
Messy engagement. This is the term we're now using to describe what happens when educators create safe and respectful places where kids can talk about their home use of media and technology. I want to call your attention to what happens in the room, how unpredictable it is, and how the teacher responds. Let's take a look.
I want to know what you think is happening here. Rodney.
She just broke up.
She just broke up. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like in a relationship.
Oh, okay. Oh, did she break up a relationship or is she just stressed? Oh, so she broke up with her boyfriend or her husband? Or who?
She got a divorce.
So she got a divorce and now she's sad and stressed. Okay.
I think that she's homeless because she looked kind of stressed, and I just see that like this is like dirty and like she's living in a shelter and this is like dirty and this stuff is nasty and usually some houses that have this it really.
What is that? It looks like a dresser. And then with stuff on top, a radio on top and everything. So you said houses that have that, what?
Houses like, some houses don't have their house that messy.
So you feel as though she's homeless because you think her house looks dirty, wherever she is looks dirty?
And I think she got underwear.
Wait, you guys shouldn't touch it because then it's going to fall. Okay. And then she's not dressed properly, right?
He probably doesn't have
That's
any
a
money.
theory.
He probably doesn't have any money. That's why she's
So,
wearing her...
wait, hold on. Jasmine is raising her hand, so I'm going to call on Jasmine.
I think that she just lost her home because she did something, and now she's sitting on her dirty bed, like saying, "Why did I do it?" And I should have thought before I did it, so she went and threw like the room or something.
Well, where is this room? If she's homeless and she lost her home, then where is this room?
I mean, like, she just lost her home. Like, they let her, like...
Stay for a little while longer, or...?
In a shelter.
Okay, so you think she's in a shelter.
And then I think she bought too much things, and then she spent all her money. And lost more money in her bank account or in her pocket.
Okay, you guys have really interesting stories, but how about I introduce a story that maybe you haven't thought of? Because everyone's story was she's poor and she doesn't have any money, and that could be the case. Maybe that's what happened. But what if, let's imagine, and we're all looking at the photo, right, Kanisha? Okay, I need your eyes on the photo. What if it's the summertime, right? And it's really, really hot. So that's why she has on her tank top and she has on shorts. And she goes inside her room, which is messy because she's always just been messy since the time she was your age, right? And she gets a phone call. And the phone call says that her best friend got in a car accident. And then she just sits on her bed and she cries.
Or her boyfriend.
That would be a completely different story, right? That had nothing to do with money, and she has her own house. But you see how different people can have different stories for the same picture? That means that we all have different interpretations. Is it easier or is it harder to come up with a villain?
Easy.
Why is it so easy? Go ahead.
Because it's easy for me because I just be coming up with stories for no reason.
So you have a very active imagination.
And this is how my villain is bad. My villain is bad because when it was a young little girl, people used to always pick on her, and she got tired of it. As she grown up, her childhood was getting bad, and now that she's a grown up, since people did all those mean stuff to her, she's going to do it to other people, even though she don't even know that.
So she has.
Do people trust Tiger Woods? They do?
Well, some people do and some people don't, right? But why is it that Tiger Woods was the spokesperson for Nike for so long?
Because
he played ball. Raising your hands.
And wait, I'm not
Ladies,
done.
are you paying attention? I want you a part of this conversation.
I'm not done. And you know, did he say did his wife or something? He was just so scared. The wife was scared until he cries.
Okay, what Zay is bringing up is very interesting because recently in the news, we know that Tiger Woods has been getting a lot of what we call media coverage because he did something very bad in his personal life. Did he do anything bad on the golf course?
No, he doesn't cheat. He plays weird.
Right. He's never cheated in the game of golf, which is what he's known for. Right now I'm speaking. I'll get to you in 1 second, okay? But he did something like cheating in his personal life, and Nike, who pays him a lot of money to be the spokesperson or the face for their product, said, oh, we need you to go and apologize to the nation for your bad behavior. So in that case, you can see that a spokesperson has a lot of responsibility, don't they?
Did he want to apologize?
Who knows? Maybe he didn't want to do it, but he did it because he had a lot of people, including the people that he's a spokesperson for, like Nike, telling him that he had to do it.
Oh, wait, is the Nike
Nike is a brand, right? A brand of what?
A shoe brand?
Well, shoes.
This is Nike right here.
One of the things that we know from the literacy researchers is that the more time children spend in dialogue, the higher their literacy test scores. We can actually clock that. Go into a classroom and count the minutes that children are doing the talking. And those classrooms will be the students with the kids have the highest test scores. Because in many urban schools, children never talk. They listen. They sit quietly. They fill out worksheets. But these children were producing a lot of language, right? They were using language to demonstrate what they were thinking and feeling. And that's very powerful. But it does create a situation we call messy engagement. It happens when teachers interact with children about the media and technology they use in the home. And teachers need to learn how to handle some of the messiness. Okay? Now we know that teachers and school leaders have a lot of concerns about the mayhem and the loss of control that may interfere with digital media projects. This is well documented in the literature. We have Finnish teachers writing about this. We have Italian teachers writing about this. We have British teachers writing about this. We all recognize the challenges of this work. Sometimes these projects don't seem clearly linked to academic standards. Sometimes it's not easy to assess what students are actually learning. Well, they're certainly sometimes not text-based. So we have concerns about that. They're not developing print literacy skills. And of course, there are organizational and management challenges associated with project-based learning. For a lot of reasons, teachers call this work unpredictable and exhausting. And when we researchers dismiss or trivialize that, we alienate teachers and we reduce our ability to be effective with them. We have to honor the fact that this is unpredictable and it is exhausting. But teachers can provide structured digital and media literacy learning experiences that provide a balance between order and chaos. And so when teachers see the value of creating with media and technology in school, they develop well-structured activities, they activate creative and independent thinking, they carefully monitor what's happening in the small groups, and they learn the basics of technology use, and they give up time in their classroom because they value it. When teachers see the value of talking about media and technology in school, they activate or tap into children's knowledge of media and popular culture. They take advantage of unpredictable moments in social interactions with children, and they address the relational and socialization issues involved in building character. This slide comes from a piece that I just published in the Learning, Media, and Technologies. It's coming just February 28th, and it's called Improvisation and Strategic Risk-Taking in Informal Digital Media Literacy with Elementary School Children. We do a case study of a situation where a teacher had a very unpredictable situation and how she scaffolded it into a learning experience. We think that's how we have to think about the developmental trajectory of teachers. What teachers need to learn to educate students in a media and technology saturated society. So that led us, this research led us, to really do some serious inquiry on teachers' own attitudes about media and technology. Because of the course of the 5 years, working with about 250 teachers altogether, we discovered that teachers' pre-existing attitudes about media and technology shaped their choices about what they do in the classroom. So rather than us tell teachers what to do, we actually tried to figure out, what do teachers care about? What are they passionate about? What's their love-hate relationship with media and technology? And use that to figure out how to create a space in the classroom for this work to happen. And as a result, with my friend Silke Graf from the University of Bochum in Germany, we took a sample of German K-12 teachers and a sample of American K-12 teachers, and we developed and validated a motivation inventory. Now it's down, it was like 175 items when we first started. Now it's down to 48 questions. And you can answer these 48 questions, and it's like a horoscope. Michelle, what are you? Your horoscope. Are you a Gemini, a Libra, a Sagittarius? You're a Cancer. I am a Virgo with a lot of Leo. People loved horoscopes, right? So we decided, when we got our motivation inventory, we decided to create a horoscope because it fell very nicely into 12 categories. So I will share with you the 12 categories, and you wonder, what is my primary motivation? Why do I care about using media and technology with children and young people? All right, you may be this one right here. If you're a techie, you can raise your hand because you know I can't be anything else. You're passionately curious about new tools. You could be a trendsetter. If you are, you're curious and interested in youth culture, in kid culture, in the dynamic energy associated with children and adolescents, new media culture that's constantly being reinvented every generation. It's possible you're a demystifier. You want to pull back the curtain. You want kids to ask those how and why questions. You're all about asking questions in the classroom. That's the key to opening up critical thinking. But you might be an activist. If you are, it's because you're passionate about the possibility that digital media may actually promote a democratic participation that creates opportunities to reduce inequality and injustice and create a more equitable world. It's possible you're a tastemaker. You want to broaden your students' horizons. You want them to have exposure to media experiences that puts them in touch with historical, aesthetic, and critical appreciation. You want them to appreciate a variety of cultural sources. Or you could be an alt. You want to challenge students with alternative ways of thinking about and making media in the classroom. You are a do-it-yourself teacher, and you want to introduce students to media that's off the mainstream path. Or it's possible you're a motivator. You want to catalyze students' creative energy. You want to help students be the best they can be, to speak up and be engaged, because no matter how good a teacher you are, if your kids aren't engaged, learning's not going to happen. It's possible that you're a spirit guide, a listener, dedicated to the social and emotional well-being of your learners, doing what you can to make yourself trustworthy so that students will confide in you, so that you can help them through the challenges of life. It's possible that you're a teacher 2.0, interested in finding new ways to connect to children's culture using active digital participation. And it's possible that you're a watchdog, mindful of the ways in which things are bought and sold, wanting to help students understand the ownership structures that shape the media around us and shape what we receive and what we never get. It's possible that you're a professional. You want students to understand and emulate the professional conventions of media industries, of what it means to have quality journalism or quality film or quality websites or quality photographs. And it's possible, oh my gosh, I'm in a room full of you. It's possible that you're the professor. You will balance your interest in media and technology with a clear connection to academic standards. You're not using technology just for the sake of using technology. You're using it to advance your other learning goals. All right, so in June, later this year, the book and the website will launch at Powerful Voices for Kids. The book's coming out from Corwin Sage. It's an online community where we put all the lesson plans, all the student work samples, all the teacher reflective writing, and the quiz, 48 items, and it tells you what you are, and then matches your motivation to some of the lessons and activities that are aligned with your motivation. Why? Because here are the final 2 points I make to conclude. Exploration of digital and media literacy pedagogy with younger children helps us understand the complex interaction between home and school in both the processes of cognitive and emotional development and socialization. And sensitivity to diverse teacher motivations may improve the quality of collaborations that help us develop innovative digital and media literacy learning experiences both in and out of school. So here's the future of literacy as I understand it. We won't be using terms like literacy should be our term. It means to access, use, and share, to create and collaborate, to analyze and evaluate, and to apply ethical judgment. So I hope you have a chance to look more at some of the work that I've done in the way. I also love that idea of here are the scholarly articles that this talk is built upon. There's the website. I did place the slides for this talk, which links to all the video here where it says Youth 2.0, so you can click on that and access it. Thanks very much for inviting me to participate.